Hi guys, and welcome to Escape with Watch Reviews. My name is Steve, and today we're going to be reviewing the Daidun, doesn't have a model number, we're going to call it the Dinghy Master for obvious reasons. I purchased this watch with earnings from this channel, but no matter how I get a watch, you're always going to get my full and honest review on this channel no matter what. And if by the end of this review you want to pick one of these up, I'll be leaving a link down in the video description. That'll take you to the AliExpress listing that I got the watch from. Shipping was fine, but yeah, a little bit more on that later. The retail price for this watch is about $95 US. It varies between colors by just a couple bucks, but yeah, that's before taxes or sales or customs or anything like that. I have seen it drop a little bit during the sales, but really not that much. The watch comes in 7 different colorways, which you can see here. I think they all look really good. You have different bezel options. You have a steel, you have a yellow gold, and then you have a rose gold case option too. So plenty of options to choose from. The specifications online are misleading. They say it's a stainless steel case, a sapphire crystal, which it's not, a screw-down crown, screw-down case back, 30 meters of claimed water resistance, and then the watch is powered by the Miyota 8215 automatic movement. So everything on the spec sheet is true as far as what I just told you. Dimensions are wrong, the material is wrong. So yeah, we're going to get into all the little discrepancies on this watch here. So yeah, Daidun, they've been doing this for quite a while now. My last watch that I had from Daidun was I called it the Master of Lies, obviously a Seamaster homage, and there was some stuff in that watch that was also misleading from the listing. So that's where it's really important for reviewers like me to show you guys what you're actually getting when you purchase a watch. You can't really trust the listing all the time. I think sellers have gotten really good about it, but Daidun, I guess, is just one of those ones that they just don't care. They just throw whatever they want out. So yeah, I think that's where I come in, and that's where I'm going to show you guys what you're actually getting. Hopefully I can give you a good idea, and maybe you'll decide that you want to purchase this watch. So yeah, I say we get into the full review, but before we do, doing a quick wrist check, wearing the Chronos Skyline. Absolutely love this blingy watch. Go check out the review for that right up here. All right, so let's get into the dimensions. Got a bezel diameter of 41 millimeters, case thickness of 12.3 millimeters, 20 millimeter lug width, got a lug tip to lug tip of 47.1 millimeters, and on the supplied rubber strap, weighs about 90. So I think the size on this is actually really nice. They list it as 41 millimeters. The case itself is 41. The bezel is 40. They list this as 22 millimeter lug width. It is 20 millimeter, which is good. And then the case thickness they list as 11 millimeters, and it is not 11 millimeters. It's 12.3 millimeters, which isn't bad at all. So I just don't see why they lied. Either they're just plain ignorant and they're just going by what Daidun Manufacturing is telling them, or they just don't, or they're trying to trick us somehow. I don't get it. But so I think the size on this thing is actually really good. You can see here, nice thin mid case, which looks really good. We'll talk about the case here in just a minute, but yeah, really nice profile, really nice hook to those lugs as well. So I think it wears really good. So I'm gonna go outside right now and throw it on my wrist for you. And here we are on my 7.5 inch wrist, and the dimensions on this thing are just great. I have no issues with them at all. Thin mid case, like I mentioned there, and nice turn down to the lugs there. So it just kind of hugs the wrist, and I think it does look really, really good. As you can see here underneath the oak tree, no issues reading the time or anything like that. You get lots of play off of the case and off the bezel. I think it all looks very, very nice actually. And here we are, a little bit more open lighting. Sadly don't have any sun for you guys, but hopefully I can show you guys some pictures of it in the sun. But it does look still really, really nice. All right, let's go throw it on some straps and let's get back to it. And here we are on a bright orange strap. This one is from AliExpress. It's a FKM cut to size strap. These things are awesome. Been using them quite a bit, and I think it does look pretty good with the blue dial actually. Wasn't sure how I was going to feel about it, but I actually do like it. And here we are on kind of an electric blue nylon strap, 2 layers underneath the watch there, and it's still sitting very nice on the wrist. This thing, the case on it is actually really, really nice. I'm quite surprised and quite happy with that. But yeah, there's just a lot of stuff going on with this watch. All right, let's go back inside. Let's get back to this review. All right, so let's talk about the case finishing on this thing. So the case finishing, it is fully polished, which it should be for a watch like this. So yachtmasters are different than, a Submariner, in the fact that the case shape is quite a bit different. You can see here, You got a nice little hook and turn down to these lugs here, which looks really good. It's a more rounded off case as well. Yeah, they did a really nice job with the case shape on this thing. It's nice and thin mid case. I think it looks fantastic. The crown, 7mm signed screw down crown there. The signed screw down crown, it lines up perfectly, which I think is just a happy mistake, but it looks absolutely fantastic. It's a nice size crown, plenty of grip, and it hides in those crown guards very nicely. So I think they did a really good job on the case shape. The case finishing, it is fully polished like I mentioned, and it's okay. It's not the best. I feel like it has like a milky kind of look to it, so I don't know if they're actually using 316L steel or if they're using a lower grade steel. I'm not really sure. So yeah, it's just something to know. Again, it doesn't look bad. It's just comparing it to some other higher end version of this watch, it just doesn't look as nice. So yeah, I think they could improve that just a little bit. The case back on this thing, as you can see here, it's a display case back, simple coin edge. Yeah, that is mineral glass 100%. Yeah, I think the case back on this thing is fine. Like I mentioned earlier, you got those little turn down little hooks on the bottom of the feet there. So everything is pretty soft on the case, and it is very comfortable to wear. So yeah, the case, it's kind of a mix for me. I love the case shape of it. I just wish they would do a little bit better job on polishing this thing. It deserves a really nice high quality polish, and I'm just not seeing it. It just doesn't look as clean as some of the other watches in my collection. All right, so let's talk about the bezel on this thing. So first things first, we'll talk about the bezel insert. It is a steel bezel insert. I believe the black one, black bezel insert, is a ceramic one. So this one is steel. It looks very soft. Again, I just don't. I've seen higher quality bezels. I can just tell immediately that it's just not a high quality bezel insert. It just looks kind of like everything's just been rounded off a little bit too much. It could be more crisp, could be more shiny, sparkly. So yeah, I'm not too impressed with the steel bezel insert. The bezel itself, it is stainless steel as well, and it is fully brushed, which kind of clashes with the case in my opinion. Again, all the grip on the bezel here, the teeth, everything just seems a little bit too soft again. So yeah, I'm not really sure why they decided to brush this thing. I believe the original is all polished, so they should have done that here. There's plenty of grip on it, and the bezel action is actually pretty decent. Let's start off with the alignment. The alignment is actually pretty good as well, but it is a 120 click unidirectional, so it's not a bi-directional like it should be for the watch like this, but pretty nicely done. The bezel action, nice and smooth, pretty consistent all the way around. It has a really high pitched noise, as you can hear there, and then it kind of changes in tone just a little bit. So there's some just a little bit of difference or variation, I'm going to say, you know, depending on where you are. It all feels the same, it just sounds a little bit different. And so the bezel itself, once it locks into place, it's actually pretty solid. There's no bounce in it, there's no wobble in it or anything like that. It does have that kind of spring back where you can, you know, once you hear the clicks, you rotate it back a little bit. So just something to note. But for the most part, the bezel is actually pretty darn good on this thing. I was quite surprised by it. So yeah, the bezel's all right. All right, so let's talk about the crystal on this thing. This is listed as having sapphire crystal. As you can see, it is not sapphire crystal. It is not a sapphire cyclops. So right there, I think we're up to like 3 or 4 strikes on this thing already. It's a nice crystal. Mineral crystal is less reflective than sapphire, but if you're touting this as having sapphire, you better put sapphire on it, because I'm going to test them all the time. When I got the watch, I was like, oh my gosh, this crystal is fantastic. And now I know why. Mineral crystal does definitely look a lot nicer than sapphire does. The clarity is excellent. The Cyclops sits a little bit low on this thing, but the magnification is almost none. I mean, there's very little magnification on this thing. So yeah, the magnification is terrible. The alignment is a little bit off as well. So I'm tempted to just remove that Cyclops. It's just not good. The crystal sits above the bezel insert there, which looks really nice. It's got a nice big chamfer and everything. It is just a dead flat piece of crystal. Plenty clear and makes the dial really pop. But yeah, if you're going to advertise this as having sapphire, it better have sapphire. All right, so let's talk about the dial on this thing. So the dial is a beautiful blue sunburst color. It looks really good. It definitely looks different than the product listing, which I'm going to pop up here because there's something else I want to mention. You'll notice a little bit of color missing from this. That second hand there, it's not red like it's showing here. So that's just another strike against Daidun. I don't understand. They're using renders. They're probably just photoshopped of the Rolex. But yeah, it's just frustrating. I really wish it had the red. It doesn't bother me that it's not there, but it was just something that I expected, and it's not there. So just another strike against them. But I will say the dial itself is actually done pretty good. You can see here you have applied indices at all the hour markers, pretty typical layout, triangle at 12, batons at 6 and 9 o'clock, and then circular indices everywhere else. A simple date cutout, which is again magnified very little by that Cyclops there. But everything is, again, done pretty nice. The Lume color is a pure white. I think it looks really good. The handset that they chose, pretty standard for this style of watch and a good length in my opinion. Nothing really seems out of the ordinary there. You do have your Daidun logo there at the 12 o'clock, which looks very familiar. If you're, if you tune into my channel a lot, you'll see St. Martin uses a very similar logo. And then you have stainless steel, water resistant automatic printed down there at the 6 o'clock printed minute track. The nice thing about, I'm not going to consider it part of the dial, but the rehaut on this thing is just razor thin. You can see there. They did a very nice job. I do have a Parnas Yacht Dinghy Master next to it, which already had a pretty good rehaut on it, and you can see that the Daidun is even more. So yeah, really happy with the nice thin rehaut on this thing. It looks fantastic, and it really does make the dial almost kind of pop out of the case a little bit. So it's a really cool look on it. I think they executed the dial pretty darn good. I just wish they would stop with the lies, or not following through with what they're showing me what you're going to get. So here you can see against a couple other watches in the collection. Definitely the Willard there on the left, that one just kind of blows it away, and that was to be expected. The Daidun, I didn't expect it to have good lume. It had a pretty decent glow right off the bat, but the hands fade right away, and then the dial's not too far behind that. It definitely is better than the Parnas that I have there, but yeah, it's definitely not good lume. All right, so let's talk about the movement in this thing. So the movement is the Miyota 8215 automatic movement. It is I don't even know if this one is hacking. I can't remember. I think it's a hacking one. Yes, this one does hack. It has hand winding. It's roughly 38 hours of power reserve, I think. It's 21,600 beats per hour, so 6 ticks of the second hand every second. You can see it through the display case back here. It's not a fancy movement. It's not the decorated one. It's not the gold one or anything like that. So yeah, it's not too fancy looking through there, but I guess some people are going to like that. It does have a single direction winding rotor, so you can see it spinning around there. You can hear it. You can feel it. Some people like it. Some people don't. I don't like it, but at this point, I'm kind of indifferent. But as long as you know what you're getting, these movements are perfectly fine. They're accurate enough. Here's how this one has been running. It's running pretty good, about 10 seconds a day, I think it said. Yeah, I've got no real issues with that, especially at this price point. But these movements, they're reliable over a long period of time. They've been around for like 30 or 40 years, something like that. So yeah, they're not a new movement. They're kind of old technology, but yeah, they last forever. So yeah, they're going to be a nice, accurate, and reliable movement for a pretty long time. The movement is operated by this 3 o'clock screw down crown. Again, nicely signed crown there. Good grip on the crown. Smooth screw in and screw out action. First position is your hand winding. Everything feels normal there. Second position is your date window. Quick date changeover. Everything seems centered in there as well. Pulling it out to the third position hacks your movement, and this is where you set your time. Again, everything functions as it should. The crown actually feels pretty solid as well. So yeah, no real complaints with it. Screwing in action, nice and smooth. Yeah, it's been a pretty solid setup for me. Right, so let's talk about the strap on this thing. So the strap is a rubber strap. They just listed it as rubber. It's definitely not an FKM. There's no quick release spring bars on it. It's 20 millimeters. It tapers down to 16 millimeters at the clasp. It's a very Rolex-like looking strap. Has a very Rolex-like looking clasp as well. Daidun design, polished in the middle, brushed on the outside. Let's get that cleaned up for you here. So they did a decent job on this thing. The clasp itself, it's a little sharp on these top corners, but the bottom edges are pretty rounded off and nice. Flip over this, you have your safety latch here, and then your release from this side here. Fully milled on the inside. This clasp is pretty typical of clasps that you see everywhere. Inside you have 4 levels of micro adjust. It is one of those cut to size straps, so if you need to get this even smaller, you can do that just fine. Yeah, it's a decent setup. The clasp itself is actually pretty comfortable. It has this kind of channel here to, kind of bring sweat away from you, and kind of beefs up the strap a little bit too. So yeah, I've had straps just like this. They're usually like 10 or 15 bucks. This one's actually pretty decent. I wouldn't say it's a great strap, but it's definitely usable, and you can wear it, and it's comfortable. So yeah, I don't have too much to complain about with the strap. So there you go, guys. That is the Daidun Dinghy Master. I think it has a couple good things going for it, but then you're just going to have to take what they tell you and what they show you with a grain of salt. There's some options on there that do have a colored seconds hand. I doubt you're going to get a colored seconds hand on those things. You're obviously not going to get sapphire on this thing. Like I said, the strap is pretty decent. The case is beautiful. The finishing is okay. The bezel is pretty good. There's just some discrepancies that you just have to be careful of, and that's why I'm glad that I can show you guys this watch. It's definitely not as advertised. And I wrote that in my review on AliExpress. I'm telling you guys this here now, but hopefully now that you have all the facts and all the figures, if you are interested in this, you can make an informed decision and you can go and buy this. I will leave the link down in the video description. I do think this is probably the best Yachtmaster homage under $100. I know Sugess just made theirs. I might get that watch. I'm not really sure. I'm kind of over these Rolex clomages. So yeah, I'm not really sure how I feel about the Sugess and spending $230 on that watch. So yeah, other than that though, yeah, it's an okay watch. They just keep telling lies, and I just don't like that at all. So just go in knowing what you're getting, and I think you're going to be pretty happy with the watch. So I think that's it for me. Thanks a lot for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya.